Hello, Janesville, and welcome back to Park Place Views, the monthly program that aims to keep Janesville residents informed by highlighting the people, places, and partners of the City of Janesville. As always, this program is brought to you by the City of Janesville and JATV Media Services. I'm your host, Amanda Gilbert, the Communications Specialist in the City Manager's Office. In last month's episode, we sat down with Assistant to the City Manager, Nick Faust, where we talked about the city's strategic planning process, what it's like to manage the city's committee appointment process, and what it really means to be the Assistant to the City Manager. Today, I'm looking forward to being joined by the new Library Director at the Hedberg Public Library, Eric Robinson. Director Robinson has been in this new position for just over a month now, so I thought it'd be the perfect time to bring him on the program to introduce him to our viewers and discuss how he's adjusting to his new role. Before we get into the thick of it, a little bit more about Director Robinson. Eric brings a diverse background in library services, having served in various leadership roles throughout his career. Most recently, he served as Library Director at the Dwight Foster Public Library in Fort Atkinson, where he played a pivotal role in implementing innovative programming and enhancing library services to meet the community's evolving needs. Director Robinson holds a Master's in Library and Information Science from UW-Madison and is an active member of several library associations. Thank you so much for joining us today, Eric.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, making your Park Place Views debut in the library of all places, so it really works out.
Yeah, it's very convenient.
Yeah, didn't have to go far. Before we jump into things, Eric, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm originally from Southern Indiana, but I actually moved to Wisconsin when I started high school. And so I actually went to Delavan, so not very far. And then, like you mentioned, I went to college in Madison. So my wife, most of her side of the family is actually from the area. So my father-in-law worked for Cullen for a number of years as an iron worker, and another family member was in maintenance at GM when the plant was still here. And so even in high school, there's a branch library that we have in the mall, or the old mall, in the Claire's boutique that still was there, is the same Claire's that I had my ears pierced in high school at. So just a lot of our extended families from the area, and opportunities that either my wife and I have had to potentially move for professional stuff. We've very much chosen to be in the area. So we love being here. Well,
nice. We're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm assuming since you're working in the library that you like to read. Do you have a go-to genre, and what are you reading right now?
Weirdly enough, I love fantasy books. It was something that really, even from probably, it's kind of no joke, when I really started enjoying reading, it was about a time when I was in middle school or as a teenager and just got really hooked into books like that. So I kind of joke with folks, if it's got a make-believe map at the beginning of it, it's probably something I will enjoy. But I also used to cook professionally, so I love cookbooks too. And one of them, actually, weirdly, I'm reading right now. It's not a cookbook, but it's written by a person named Will Godot, or Godare, I think. And he previously owned a restaurant in New York that was the #1 restaurant in the world at one point.
Wow.
And so he wrote a book about their service. And so kind of thinking about here and what we're going to be trying to accomplish, it's called... it's like unreasonable hospitality. It's the idea that, so when you come and visit us, you have an amazing time here, whether you love books or don't love books. But the idea that we would sort of tailor your experience to be here so that you would be wowed and awed and you'd want to spend more time here.
Nice. That's a really neat concept.
Yeah.
I like the title a lot, too.
Yeah.
That's fun.
He's an unreasonable person, hence the name.
Right. Well, as we talked about a little bit earlier, this is not your first library gig.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into this profession?
Weirdly, a bunch of us have been talking about this because I think everybody comes to the profession with different skills, but very rarely do people go like, I want to be a librarian from day one. So when I was in high school in Delavan, I actually was enrolled to go to culinary school. And then because of working in restaurants for a number of years, I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Ended up enrolling to college and got a job, though my mom, hilariously, I should have known I was going to be a librarian, and I'll tell you why in a second, but I got a job thinking, this will be great. I will get paid to study. And then I worked for the world's best librarian ever, and she recognized, I like to do lots of stuff. A lot of folks here will probably attest. I'm running around all the time talking to patrons, seeing what's going on with folks here, and how we can help, or the small things that they may say, getting back to that idea of helping people. Small changes that we've already made, adjusting things on the fly. And so she could tell I liked that. And so it didn't end up being a job where I got paid to study or anything like that. So what I should have known, I was going to be in librarians because my mother ran a small library when I was a child for a period of time, a very teeny little trailer library. And my stepfather worked for a company for a number of years called Follett, which sells tons of books to publishers in the K-12 market. And my youngest brother is actually a librarian too.
Wow.
So we have an inordinate amount of librarian people in our family. So
yeah, it's just like, I talk to cops and I say,
Yeah.
why do you get into this career? And they're like, oh, my grandfather was a cop and my dad was a cop and the whole family lineage. So
Yeah.
it's fun that librarians also have that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still have the perception that it's a very shushing, the building has to be quiet, and I don't think that's what attracts people to do it now. It's a lot of people that have a lot of service background. They enjoy working with other people, and if you really like doing a litany of things throughout your workday, like my previous jobs, I know here they're still learning that, like, I used to be the building manager and had to deal with technology and issues that maybe were going on with patrons that, things weren't set up well, or working at circulation. So if you like doing lots of stuff, your hair's on fire most of the time and that feeling, then it's a good profession.
Yeah, that's a lot of good reasons you listed. Why bring your skills to Janesville then?
I think for me, part of it was the libraries I had been at, or right now I'm on the Wisconsin Library Association. There's a professional organization that they have a board that hears and works with all types of librarians across the state, whether it's academic libraries working for the UW system, like UW Whitewater, or special librarians that work for law firms, or public librarians. I live really close here, and I've been here for a number of years. And so even when I was a kid in high school, when the renovation was happening here, I remember going out to the south part of town, and just kind of the magical experience of being in a public space like that, how it can really be pretty amazing. And a lot of it has to do, I think, with the folks that are in the building. The building itself can be and is beautiful and can be even better. But a lot of what attracted me was I just see amazing potential for this library, and what we can do for the community to have an incredibly welcoming space that they feel like they're going to be able to enjoy a tremendous amount of times with their friends and family and make memories. There's a lot, especially with summer reading program that's coming up. That's a time that a lot of families, they think about, and they may not go to libraries all the time, and they may not be avid readers, but a lot of people do have, a hint of that type of memory if they experienced that when they were children. So,
absolutely. I always remembered my favorite part of growing up in the summer was taking part of my local library's reading program.
Yeah.
And back then it was more so just because you could win the prizes. But now I look back and think, wow, I really like reading because of that.
Wow, that's how I think I even got into reading when I was a kid. There was, I think it was Pizza Hut. They had some program that, like, you literally read and you'd get a personalized pizza.
Yes.
And I love pizza. Pizza and chips all day.
It's a good win. Books and pizzas, it can't go wrong.
So yeah, we are going to have that program. It'll run through August 2nd. And it's the same kind of things where we'll do prizes and stuff like that.
Awesome. So you've been here a little over a month now. You're settling in, getting to know everybody. Do you have a part that's maybe your favorite, or what's made you most excited about joining our team?
I think we talked a little bit about this off air, but I knew of and have deep respect for some of the librarians that are here. Some of them I had asked them to come and help train folks I'd worked with previously. Another person, Laura, who's an adult services librarian here, and so she and I she was a library director also. And so there's just folks that I have a lot of respect for, and they tend to be type A personalities like me, where they see stuff and they're organized and they want to see good things happen for everybody around them. But I think, like I mentioned, the potential of seeing that there's a lot more that we could do for each other that's going to make it an exciting experience coming in. That's what's been attractive.
That's great. You mentioned earlier that the library is so welcoming and inclusive, and it's one of my favorite parts, that the library is really a place for everybody. How do you plan on continuing to foster such a welcoming and inclusive environment for Janesville's diverse population?
I think a lot of it is me having to be very cognizant of things that are said either directly to us. I spend a lot of time just on the floor, not to be the new director, but really to hear what's going on with folks. So I had a hilarious experience where somebody was filling out a suggestion card, and the person said, "Does the director ever come up here?" And she's like, "He's right here." And he and I had a great conversation, and he was sort of taken aback at how quickly, like, he had a great idea. I said, "We're going to do that today." We literally did it that day.
Wow.
And I saw him today, and he waved. He's, "Thanks for doing that." And so I think a lot of it is just being aware of what people are saying and want, and things that they don't like, And so we're trying to get out in the community more and talk to folks. And I think we have an amazing bookmobile, which we'd love to get a new one soon, hopefully, and do more stuff like that. But just be really mindful of what people are saying to us and not just sort of file it away. Actually do something about it. If it's good, let's do it. We joke here, we're not surgeons, so
right.
None of the decisions we're going to make is going to alter someone's life tremendously. So, and if it doesn't work, we'll change it. And so I think a lot of it is just being open-minded, willing to try stuff. And so it should be exciting.
Absolutely. And on the same token, you want to keep that same sort of feeling and welcome and positive environment for your staff. How do you plan on keeping that positive, motivated work environment for them?
That I feel really comfortable about, just because I think one of the other things that attracted me was I don't know if everyone had ever been as empowered as they will be to do things that I believe are good ideas. There's been a lot of, I don't know if we can do it for these reasons, a litany of things, like any job. But again, they have great ideas, and folks in the community do see potential in things that they would love us to try. And so it's really being able to say, yeah, you're in charge of that thing. We don't need to, it has to go all the way up to someone like myself to make some of these executive decisions on stuff, and to give them the, support and training and empowerment to say, yeah, no, that's a great idea, go for it. So a lot of individuals I previously worked with, that always worked really well for us, to a degree where I might go to a conference and they will have changed the entire lobby
right.
because they thought this will look great and people like it, and it was great. But it was to that point where they would, after the fact, say, "Hey, we did this thing."
Yeah.
And so
ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah. So not to make it sound like it's going to be pure chaos, but just given the tools and the time and ability and support to say, yeah, that's great. Let's try that.
That's awesome. And speaking of trying and implementing new things, you played a pivotal role in Fort Atkinson in your time there, specifically in innovating programming. Do you have any big programming ideas, or is anything you want to share with us?
I will say I wasn't the only one there. I mean, it's very kind for you to say that, but a lot of the folks, again, it's some of the things that I have ideas are things that I will bring from there. There are a lot of experiences I'd like to bring to people, which sounds kind of abstract, but the idea of, we had started something here called the Library of Things, which is not uncommon for libraries, where now the idea that you, no joking aside, like, gee, I need a chainsaw for something. I mean, that's extreme, but, or I need a leaf blower, some tool or something that you want to use, but you don't want to buy. Or there's fun stuff. We used to buy, I love games. And so we bought a ton of board games.
Nice.
And they were very visible, and especially right after the pandemic was starting to kind of like free up, where more of us were moving around a little bit more. That was when we started putting stuff out like that, where you can do this at home. Some of it you can do by yourself, you can do with friends and family, but it's making a memory, it's having a good night together, not just a book. Or there's many passes that we could get that would let you go to an art museum in Milwaukee, or a children's museum in Madison, or many places in the state that we can buy it, and then you can get in for free, and you could have the pass for a couple days. And then if you wanted to take the pass, it would let you into the Chicago Art Museum. And so really trying to get more into the ideas of, it's not just about books, it's not just movies, which I love, but the the idea that we have the ability to find things that people may not know that they're interested in before they're even interested in it.
Right.
And find things that we can give them experiences that are very memorable.
Yeah.
And
really.
so a lot of stuff like that should be fun. I mean, you're asked about programming, but I think part of it is that idea of like, we want to do fun things. We want to do stuff out in the community that's in spaces that we know all of us are at anyways. And so we've joked, half not joked about, what if we put vending machines, which exist, into spaces like some quick trips that a lot of us go to. So you may be getting gas and walk in there to get, I love their spicy chicken sandwiches on Thursdays, and be able to see passes like these in clear glass that you could take your card, open the door, and check it. It just checks out for you.
Yeah, that's
and you
a great
can
idea.
put it back and close the door, and it checks it in. So it's going to be really, I think our focus is going to be on being mindful of relationships, where one person on staff, here is an example about your programming question. He had a sort of interested library patron who wanted to start a sci-fi book club. Well, we don't have that. Well, let's do it, and so we can do stuff like that. So whether we're doing it directly or maybe there's just social groups. My wife is a ravenous knitter, spaces like for folks who just want to get together with their friends and family and have creative spaces to do stuff.
Yeah, really fostering the experiences that people can get out of the library more than just sitting down and reading a good book.
Yeah, which we want to do that too.
Right, of course.
We want to do that, but at the same time, no, it's really meant to be an amazing public space. It is where I'm hoping we'll go.
Well, speaking of amazing things and programs and all the sorts of fun stuff that the HPL offers, you are in the middle of the 2024 Summer Reading Challenge.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's sort of like we were joking about earlier, where it's sort of the traditional thing of, you can read as much as you can. I do not have an arrangement with Pizza Hut, unfortunately, to get personalized fan pizzas, but we do have a litany of prizes. So, and this is across all ages, so adults, children, teenagers. We use something called Beanstack, which is an online tool, but you can come into and get it, basically something that you can write and track how much you're reading. So we're hoping to get to, I believe, 700,000 minutes of reading. And so we have a wall up sort of as you're coming down the corridor leading towards the desks that is already set up to sort of start marking that. And so just trying to encourage people to get out. We'll have the bookmobile out quite a bit too. A lot of the librarians have taken the time to visit the schools already to get a lot of the kids excited about coming in too. But it is for adults, so you and I can participate too.
Nice.
And we can get prizes.
Woohoo! That's the key. And if people want to sign up for this, are there any requirements?
Yeah. No, you can stop by any time that you'd like. We have stuff available right now through the end of, beginning of August. August 2nd will be when it ends. So anytime between now and then, just feel free to stop by and pick it up. You can also go online at our website. You just simply, one of the very top banner that when you click on our site or just search for Hedberg or Janesville Public Library, and you'll see a banner right there. It says Adventure Awaits, and so that's this year's theme. So if you get a second later, a lot of the windows within the children's departments have already been being painted for the idea of adventures, and yeah, so it should be good.
Nice. It's super easy peasy to sign up, and your website is laid out so great and easy to use. I frequent the events tab all the time, and the HPL stays busy. It really does.
Yeah.
And there's a summer program I really wanted to highlight that's super important, and that's the free summer lunch program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's one where there's a variety of locations throughout the city, but we will be a stop that you can come if you have children or needs like that. It will be on the south side of the building. There's tents already set up outside for that, so at lunch you can come by and pick up bag lunches.
Nice. That's super helpful. Parents get busy, or the less fortunate in our community need to get that lunch provided. I think that's a great service that you guys are providing.
Yeah, I wish I lived a little closer to the library because, I just made the last lunch for my oldest son recently for school, and it was like, no, I was happy.
Then yay!
It would have been nicer to come down here and pick something up. Yeah. No, so it really is meant for everybody.
That's great. And now, we've talked about a lot of great things the library has done today, as if we haven't already convinced somebody why they should get a library card.
Sure.
Why should they?
Yeah, I think it's a lot for people who don't necessarily come into a library very frequently, they have no idea the tremendous amount of things that we have to offer and the things that we will. So there's folks that I would say that if you work from home and you don't go into public spaces like this, I would really encourage you to explore whether it's ours or other libraries like this, because we have tons of study spaces where you can spread out and do your work. The library I was previously at in Fort Atkinson, there was hilariously a person who would bring their own monitor from home and put it down, even though we had tons of computers and tons of space, because they just loved the environment of kind of quietly being in there. But it's also allowed space for, you know, people to do stuff in creatively. There's a tremendous amount of art and local art that we hope to put in also. The displays and events, like we've been kind of talking about, there's literally almost not enough paper to document how much stuff is going on. So if you're looking for something fun to do, or there's a new hobby that you're maybe thinking about exploring, we might have an avenue for you. There's a chess club as an example. My oldest son, Aiden, he got interested in chess a while ago, and when I was starting to think about possibly working here, he was begging me constantly to bring him here on Saturdays to do, you know, to go to that. So there's a ton of just the space itself. I think there's something for everybody. There's also a lot of just fun entertainment stuff. If I love movies, we still have tons of stuff, both DVDs and online, and the amount of audiobooks and ebooks that I know of, who I have friends who do commute. So maybe you live in Janesville, but you work in Madison or surrounding areas. We have things like Libby and Hoopla, which sounds like made-up names, but those are audiobook and ebook collections that you can simply, with a card from us, you can get access to literally tens of millions of things instantaneously sometimes. So some of it is always instant. I know that I've had library patrons who have very specific tastes in things, like one woman I've helped for a number of years, she only read male authors from Scandinavia, and they had to be like non-cozy mysteries things. And so, like, if you've got a really, you know, specific thing that you're interested in, whether it's you're trying to get back into reading or do more stuff for yourself, we have definitely got amazing spaces to do that in, and tons of stuff.
Nice. Well, we've definitely convinced them now. I don't know how you couldn't be convinced after all of this. But if they want to get a library card, how could they go about getting one?
You can start that online. There's information there to get you started right at the top left of the website, or you can just stop in. So when, like I was joking about being here, and if you live in the surrounding areas and you have cards at other public libraries in the area, like Edgerton or Milton, those will work here too. So you don't have to, but we'd love for you to get a card here.
Nice. So. Well, awesome, Eric. Before I let you go, if people have additional questions or they want to reach out to you with those new programming ideas, how can they get a hold of you?
So my information's all on our About section of our website, or I'm usually out on the floor too, or you can simply just give us a call and ask for me, and I'd be happy to talk to you.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Eric. Yeah, we're so excited to have you on board, and we can't wait to see all the things you accomplish in your new role.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Before we wrap things up, I also want to thank our viewers and residents for tuning in today and for all you do to help make Janesville a community of choice to realize life's opportunities. I invite you to stay connected with the city by following us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, signing up for notifications from the JPD via the Nixle app, and signing up to receive city press releases by visiting janesvillewi.gov/email lists. For Park Place Views and the City of Janesville, I'm Amanda Gilbert. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next month.